Vortex here, welcome to my video comparing the C10, which is this one here, and the much newer C10 Pros, which came out maybe 6 months ago before this video. Not much talk of those on the actual internet really. It's more about this KZ kind of products and the newer CCA products. And yeah, let's get into it. So the C10, this one here, looks kind of more basic in appearance. That is the overall driver count, so it's kind of misleading. It says 8BA 2DD, but that's obviously double, so this one's only got 4 BA and 1 dynamic. And this is the same. They use a different dynamic driver. This uses the C12 shell, the CCA C12 shell. I don't have that. I unfortunately did sell that on. It is basically the same shell. Yeah, let's go on to comfort. Personally, I prefer, let's get the same one. Personally, I prefer the C10. The shell's just a bit smaller. I think it's a bit more comfortable. It does look bigger there, but that part compared to what goes in your ear, I found the you can see on there different size. It's a bit wider. I found the C10 to be a bit more comfortable than the C12. Obviously it does have that dip, so it does have that dip there, but because it's a wider shell, I think the C10 is more comfortable. There's also between these pair, they're both kind of easy to power. There's no real issues with that. You don't really need an amp. As long as your 3.5 output is clean enough, is probably the best way to describe it. You should be perfectly fine really. Sound, so low end, low frequencies and bass, not much between them to be honest. This can do really nice sub bass, but also so can the Pro. These, I don't think there's really any issues with the low frequencies, and these are both kind of similar. This one actually has all the armatures in the actual shell. There's nothing in the actual nozzle. It's hard to show you on the camera, but there's actually no wires going up. It's hard to show, but all the balanced armatures are in the shell. So there's 2 there. Focus is 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the dynamic. And this one actually has 2 in the shell. Focuses. And it actually has 2 in the nozzle. But how they sound, those are actually brighter than these, but I'll get to that in a second. But the low frequencies for both of these was perfectly fine. They're both elevated. They're not overly elevated. They're kind of right where they should be, I think, for the target audience. They both obviously have the wider nozzle. This uses their newer C-type connector, which to be honest, I preferred this one, which is their B-type. You can tell this is a cheaper construction, very basic kind of shell and plastic. With this kind of finish, this one obviously looks better, as you can tell. This is obviously the more expensive product to make, and obviously there's a price difference. But yeah, low frequencies, not much really in it. They both perform, to be honest, quite well. They both got good sub bass, mid bass, speed. The decays for what you're getting for the price is good. I think it's a touch cleaner with the Pro, but not much in it really. Mids, both again not that different. The only difference is the upper mids. On these, the upper mids is a little elevated, which is the usual KZ CCA tuning approach. So it's a little elevated on these, but on the Pro model it's even more elevated, which is probably not what I like. So female vocals especially are more forward. Male vocals can sometimes sound thin with the Pro, a little less so with the normal model, which is probably one of the downfalls with the Pro, is because it's the differences with these models inherently is from the upper mids and into the treble. So for vocals, I prefer the original C10 over the Pro model. It just sounds a little bit more realistic. It's still elevated, but that one is a better tuning, I think, for that one. Treble, this is where the big difference is. These are a more detailed pair of earphones than those. The treble is elevated in a lot of places. Let's just focus on this. These do have sibilance and these don't. These are technically overall a smoother sound, but the treble region on these, if it focuses, is these are, like I said, inherently brighter. In some cases that helps because you do get the extra detail, the extra treble, the extra separation is more obvious on the Pro than the non-Pro, but because it's boosted, it's overly boosted, I prefer the actual normal C10. I say, like, for certain situations the boost is good, but for, say, if you're watching a movie or something, it does help. But if you listen to music, which tends to be more repetitive, the slightly smoother approach of the C10 is probably, in my opinion, more favourable. It sounds a little bit more natural, is probably the best way to describe it. And the extra sibilance they've got, so I guess they thought a way to upgrade over the original C10 to the Pro is just give it a bit more of everything. They couldn't take anything away because it'd be classed as a side grade. But I think the treble is more detailed, which again may serve a purpose, but I didn't really enjoy the extra treble. I don't think it was really needed. I think that's why these didn't really take off that well, since launch, because the overall tonality of these it's a bit much, as in they should have played it probably a touch safer. I can understand why they did it, obviously to make the sound different. But the treble, obviously on these, the Pro is more elevated than the C10, but the C10 is not exactly dark sounding. I think they kind of got the treble balance kind of right. If they lowered the upper mid, lower treble section of the original C10, that would have been a really good earphone for the price. I still like those, and that's why I still kept them. But because they boosted it with the Pro model, they basically changed something which didn't need to be done. But a shame really, but in certain circumstances or certain people, if you do like your treble, then you probably will like the Pro over the non-Pro. Isolation on both of these was okay, not amazing, but obviously good enough. I've already mentioned the comfort. I preferred it on the C10, and obviously I prefer that 2-pin, the B-type connector, which they don't really use much, apart from, I think the KZ EDX is one, but I did prefer that kind of type. So stage is okay for both, nothing amazing, but it's enough. Sensitivity, they're both easy to pair on, like I said before. And yeah, I don't know about the video too long, but between just these two products, the Pro on the right hand side is not really an upgrade. I do appreciate how they moved all the armatures into the actual shell, which I think helps. I noticed in the original promotion that it said there was a BA in the nozzle, and then the promotion got updated, the promo images, and then there was no BA in the nozzle. So they probably changed the tuning quite late in the cycle, and they probably realised it was far too bright, then they've had to pull it back a bit. Or unless it was going to be an extra driver in the nozzle, then they took it out. But yeah, my opinion is, if you want to get both, if you want to get one of these, I'd probably prefer the original C10. If you've got the C10, I don't really recommend getting the Pro. It's kind of just, it's not really an upgrade, it's kind of a detriment to what they've done. But then again, you can always EQ. The magnets are quite strong, as you can see. So it's getting minus, but the magnets, but yeah. So technical performance, in many ways, the Pro does beat the non-Pro, but overall tonality, I still prefer the original. These, I think they're still, because these are still quite, these can be bought quite cheap. I think I paid around £15 for these, which is a lot of value for money for what you actually get. These are quite a bit more expensive, maybe I think 25, at least £30. I think these are still the better value, this original C10. And yeah, these still perform, I think, quite well in 2021, well, early 2021. It's a shame they went a bit too much with these, but these may suit you in particular circumstances. 10 driver hybrid. And yeah, that's it. So thanks for watching and take care.